Hey, what's up guys, my name is Yuris and welcome to today's video. In today's video we're going to escape this mini waterfall inside the beautiful DOOA Neo Glass Air, which sits perfectly on this wooden base. So before we get started with that project, we're going to run through quickly what we need today, and all those things, the links for them you will find down in the description of that video. So let's get started. The first thing that we need, of course, is the container itself. This is a 15 by 15, I think 30 centimeters tall DOOA Neo Glass Air. Like I said, on the 15 by 15 wood base by mig-A, and inside I have a simple piece of cork bark. I picked that one up in a local shop. You actually can get this, I think, more likely in the terrarium supplies, you know, for like some snakes and spiders to hide underneath. But I've used cork bark specifically in aquariums before. I made an entire scape made of cork bark, and it lasts a long time. It doesn't rot in the water, so this is perfect material for us to make it a waterfall with all the cracks and crevices here. Going to look amazing. So let me put this aside and then see what we need else. I have some Tropica Soil here because I'm thinking maybe to add some of it to the foreground, but let's see if we're going to plant to the foreground of that one. I have a drill here with some drill and some drill bits. The reason for that is because we have to drill the cork. And why do we have to drill the cork? Because we have a little pump here, and this pump is going to make things work. And I have a little, I don't know, already some sort of a distributor built here, you know, stuff like that, with air tubing. So this is going to, okay, still fits. For a second I was thinking it's not going to fit. Yeah, this is going to be situated in the back of the Neo Glass Air. So let me put it back in, turn that thing around. So this pump is going to sit, somewhere in the back. Those tubings are going to supply the water to the top, and then it will run down, get filtered somehow, and then return. So this is going to be the cycle here. Hardware-wise, are we missing anything? Yes, the light. It's going to be the ONF Flat Nano that is going to be attached on top, so that's fine. I have here one piece of like a filter sponge. I think that's from DOOA for those Wabi-Kusa walls. I just have had spare of them. You can use any filter sponges you have around. So I'm going to cut it and use it as a substrate divider behind the bark, so we don't get any soil into the tiny pump. So a little filter here. I have some tools, of course, scissors, tweezers, more bulky scissors to cut this sponge because it's somehow, I don't know, I don't want to use the nicer wave scissors for that. I have a gill type super glue to secure things in place, and tiny little mist bottle to keep the plants alive. So yeah, what else? Yeah, plants, of course, the most important thing. I have here, let me put it over here in the picture, in the basket, a wide selection of plants. Some of them are aquatic, some of them are terrestrial, and are both provided by Tropica and Ben's Jungle. So thanks to them for providing these. I will have to look at the cheat sheets here a little. So this is a Pyrrosia nummularifolia? I don't know, I have to get used to the names of the terrestrial plants. This is a super cool tree fern, and that is going to be added to the bark. Also we have here from Ben's Jungle this Philodendron spec Kolumbien. This is one of the smallest philodendron species. Just look at it, how small and tiny it is. Just beautiful. I love this philodendron. The leaves a little bit dusty. I will clean them off before placing inside. What's next, guys? We have here some Bolbitis difformis, still from the Tropica limited range, and this one arrived not that big and has been living for several months in my basement in my immersed setup. If you haven't seen that video yet, how I keep potted plants or any kind of aquarium plants alive for longer periods, highly recommend you check out the video for all the tips on that. What else do we have? We have some Bucephalandra Wavy green here, 2-3 pots of them. Not looking the nicest. They are, I don't know how old they are, definitely several months old. I have had them as a leftover from a project. And fun fact, the Bolbitis difformis somehow propagated and started growing here in the pot of the Bucephalandra. But the reason I'm using specifically the wavy green and none of the fancy dark color leaf ones, because I want some color contrast on that bark. If I use something brown or red colored, it's not going to pop. So using green Bucephalandras here as epiphytes. Then, like I said, eventually in combination with the soil, I might plant the foreground. For this, I have here some leftovers of Staurogyne repens. They have been growing as well in this immersed setup, and some Hydrocotyle tripartita, the very small Hydrocotyle. So some basic carpeting plants that don't have high requirements. And I still have some Monte Carlo cuttings left over from the 45p that you eventually can see in the background there. So we can use even some Monte Carlo for the foreground if we want. And finally, we have here some Taxiphyllum Taiwan, the Taiwan Moss, really like that one. Reason I've chosen this moss is Taiwan Moss actually attaches itself quite well to all kind of surfaces, so hopefully it is going to grow nicely on that bark. And this is it, guys. This is all we need to get started. It's actually quite a lot of stuff, but if you condense things, it's literally just the container, a piece of cork bark, because you need like a wall where the water flows down, a tiny little pump, got that one from Amazon for under 10 bucks, some air tubing, some basic splitters, connectors. You get this, for air pumps, costs like nothing. Before I ramble for too long, let's get started. So guys, the first thing I need to do is to drill holes into that bark to get the technical part sort of sorted out. For that reason, let me find the perfect drill bit to drill holes for that air tubing. So I have them in here. So let me see which diameter kind of goes best with it. I mean, it's air tube, I can squeeze it. That one looks good, about the right size. Or the next larger one. I think that one goes well, the slightly larger one, so we don't squeeze the tubing too much. So we have easy attachment. So where do I want the air tubes to go? And the thing is, I experimented before. I just put them to the front, to see where I want the water to flow down. As I can see, here is a tiny little crack in here, so it will come from the top around this area. And in addition, I think, here on the other side. So we have two spots up here where I will apply the water to go through. And for that, let me turn this around quickly, check the position from the top. Yeah, there's even a tiny little hole that I can see here in the back. Can I see it from the back? Yeah, there it is. So let's drill one hole over here. There we go. Hole number one is done, and this is going to make this side wet. And to make this side wet, I would maybe keep this part a little bit more dry, so we have a different zone. But coming somewhere from here, I think makes the most sense, as it's going to keep that side moist. So you can see that. Okay. Both holes are drilled. Now what I have to do is to see if the tubing fits through. And it does. It goes through perfectly, and if it doesn't stick out too much, even the color matches the bark almost perfectly. So whereas the other hole has been here on the side, and it goes through as well perfectly. We could do like a little test. So let's just submerge the pump all the way down. take a little bit of extra time here. Let's keep the length as it is right now. We don't have to shorten it. Okay, now I need some water. Okay, ready? Let's put the water inside. Yeah, so this is about the water volume that we need in here. The only thing is, I think right now the water could jump out, like to the front, so I will have to glue something in front of it. For the moment, ideally, I could use little pieces of that sponge and glue it in front of it. Let's take a little piece of that sponge. I can always replace it for something more natural looking, like the bark, or just cover up that with moss afterwards. Yeah, I think that's the best idea. So I'm using these little pieces of the sponge in the beginning, and I'm going to glue moss on top, so it's going to be covered with moss and become invisible. But for now, I'm just going to stick it here in the gap where the bark is. Hopefully it stays there and prevents the water from shooting to the front. We want it to run down smoothly. Okay. Good. It's in place now, so the moment of truth. Let's plug in the pump and see what happens. Okay, I see some water starting to flow in the bag through the tubing. It's coming up and slowly dripping down. We see here it goes down, keeps that side moist, and there's some more coming on that side. Yeah, I think there's still some air in the pump. So let's keep it in a more vertical position, so we have some sort of a foreground if we want to plant it, and see how the water is distributed. I kind of like it. So we have this side quite wet, this side as well. It starts dropping here and there, and also the cork is going to distribute some of the moisture by itself. So if I remove the sponge, actually don't need it. I was afraid it's going to shoot in all kind of directions. Yeah, we have quite a nice flow of water. Next step, I'm going to take the bark out of the aquarium and start applying plants to it. So it turns out there was still some air in the pump while it was so noisy. Now that the air has escaped from the pump, it's okay. Yeah, I can keep this in my studio. So let's unplug this and get started with planting. Okay guys, now we have the cork bark down here on the table, and the first plant I want to attach to it is that Philodendron Kolumbien. We have some nice roots going down here. It's been growing simply in a glass of water. So it's just probably a cutting that I have received that's looking super cool. Yeah, I have actually 2 runners or 3 runners. That one is not growing. So we have 2 runners and we apply them to the different sides somehow, just like this. It goes up from the bottom here, and so that the roots, they can feed in the soil if I add it. If not, they get enough water from down there. So, and this is something I've been thinking about already for quite a while, how to fix it to the bark. I can super glue it, but super glue is not so nice to the plant. So maybe I could use some sort of little metal clamps. Okay, so let me find some metal clamps. Whew, got them. Those are simple paper clamps. They are for sure not stainless steel, so having stainless steel material would definitely be better for that purpose, but I have to use what I have here. And yeah, I think after a while they will be covered by moss anyway. I'm in general just not too worried about it. So I'm using here my multi-tool to shorten the length and creating this tiny little U shape. I really don't want to use super glue on plants. I haven't tested it before and I just have only one here. I know I can glue a lot of aquatic plants underwater, but with Philodendron I've never tried gluing before, so just don't want to take the risk. And also just show you here a little DIY, and yeah, let's go. Let's fix it with these clamps. For that, I think I will start here somewhere from the base. Just keep the large portion, the largest part, and then use the multi-tool to squeeze the clamp into the bark a little bit, at least as much as it goes. Yeah, it goes in quite well, but I have to be careful not to squeeze the rhizome of the Philodendron. I just want to keep it in place. So let's see the next one. Let's keep the short one attached somewhere over here. Hopefully you can see here. So I'm just taking it with the multi-tool. It's the Leatherman multi-tool. Squeezing a little bit. So you see here, it still can move inside, so it's not squeezing the rhizome or the stem of the Philodendron, but it keeps it securely in place. That branch over here right now looks like it's dead, but down here I see a new leaf coming out. So that one we can keep it as it is. It's going to grow out and then we can reattach it to somewhere. So that one is in place. Let's see which direction we want this one to go. Let's keep it a little bit vertical. I think if I rotate it this way, that looks the best. Yeah, I think that's the way to go. And to achieve that, we have to fix it somewhere here with another small clamp. Almost completed, guys. Just be careful. Don't press too much, just do it slowly. This way there is no risk of smashing the stem. That would be a little bit pity. Okay, now you see it's perfectly in place. The roots will have access to moisture and probably even substrate if everything goes according to plan. Okay, let's keep it here. Yeah, let's go with this tree fern, with the Pyrrosia, and attach it somewhere. I have two beautiful long runners that I want to use, so let me just cut them off here inside the pot, and I think it is going to uptake the moisture through the roots on the rhizome, and I see already small roots growing, so I think it can be propagated this way. If I'm wrong, you know better, drop a comment down below. I will figure it out the hard way when the plant dies, but hopefully not. Fingers crossed. Most ferns can be propagated this way, and as long as it keeps the moisture, it should be fine. That one, I'm going to wiggle with my tweezers just underneath the Philodendron. Come on, the rhizome. Okay, so that one will then originate from somewhere down here. That goes down to the bottom here. And I'm going to use just another clamp. Oh, I like the small portions of those clamps. So let's clamp this in place down here. Bottom part is secured. Let's see what we can do to it towards the top. So that one goes, yeah, I'll just try to keep it close to the Philodendron and wiggle it around it a little bit so it covers the base. Okay. One of these attached here, and the next one I want to go somewhere on that side to together with the philodendron. So the bottom part, I'm just going to squeeze underneath the philodendron roots. Just don't use any clamps there. That is a little bit tricky here. I don't want to break the stem of the fern. Ooh, starting to sweat. Okay, got it. Perfectly. So, goes now in this direction, and from here I will put it just again underneath the philodendron. I think that's fine, that's going to attach from there. This is what it looks like right now. I kind of already like it. Some of the leaves of the philodendron, they have to probably, reallocate when they're exposed to the light properly. I think they will change their direction a little bit, like all plants do, and they grow towards the light. What else to be added? We have some Bucephalandras. So I wanted to have some Bucephalandras here, and I think because the Bucephalandras, they need a more moist environment, I'm going to use them somewhere at the bottom, because towards the top it will be more dry. The top part even sticks out of the glass container, so it will be most dry conditions up there. So I want to keep the Bucephalandra somewhere low. I see two nice spots where to use it. One spot is over here, it's like a little hole, and another one is over here. Both are quite low. I know they will get enough moisture down here. So yeah, let's go for it. So now that the Bucephalandra is all cleaned, let me take my tweezers and see, just put the Bucephalandras where I want them to be, and then see how I'm going to secure them over there. So first of all, I really like this spot down here. I think it's perfect for one of the Bucephalandras, or two, like this, and another one towards the bottom of it to create a nice little bush. And all the roots are going down. Really love the roots. They can be all hanging down here. So, like this, two of the Bucephalandras over here. I think that side we will have a Buce here. Now let's put this Bucephalandra somewhere in the cracks down here. And in nature, the plants grow above and underneath, so I'm trying to have some of the Buce leaves stick from underneath the philodendron. This gives a very natural look to it. So just squeezing some of the Bucephalandras here and there along the philodendron, somehow highlighting its growth pattern. I think, that makes it look most natural. And yeah, why not have that larger piece of Bucephalandra towards the bottom? So let me take all the roots together and just squeeze underneath the roots of the philodendron. Yeah, I think that goes well here. Not entirely sure yet how to secure the Bucephalandra. Some of them even I might not need to secure at all. I think they could stay there as they are. Just hold them, I don't know, like by themselves, or because they're stuck underneath the philodendron rhizome. Right now it doesn't look like fully grown in. Over time the philodendron is going to grow, this tree fern is going to grow, the Bucephalandras are going to grow and fill in more. So it doesn't have to look fully grown in right from the beginning. We want to give the plants a little bit of space to grow as well. Perfect. So you can do a little test, turn it around and see if something falls down. No. Good job. Yeah, I have had here some other plants remaining. This is the Bolbitis difformis, so I want to use a little bit of this towards the top, as this one, in my opinion, does the best with the dry humidity of the air. Here we have the tiny little piece that has been growing with the Bucephalandra. So that one, I don't know, let's just squeeze it somewhere in those gaps of the cork bark. Let's get some more runners of it, and just attach it here and there. Over time it's going to attach by itself with the roots. And yeah, I think I'm trying even to create a little overlapping structure so it hangs down a little bit. Really don't need much here, as I want to give the plant some space to grow up. For some interesting details, how about this side? Yep, and to secure it in place, I'm just going to use a little piece of that sponge and just squeeze it above the fern into the gap, and that is going to hold the roots in place. That's it. Ferns here, here, down here. Looks natural. I like it. And when it grows in, it's going to be even better. And as a final touch, I'm going to use the Taiwan Moss. Comes here in the tissue culture cup from Tropica. It's been growing here for a long while. So what I'm going to do with the moss here is simply take, the tips of it and cut them off like this. So we don't have to deal with the yellow part at the bottom. So we have just the good portion here. And that one I'm going to cut in even smaller pieces. So we have approximately 1 centimeter in size pieces. I'm going to mix it a little bit. So we have here that nice not spiky Taiwan moss mix, and then I'm going to take little portions of it and literally just stuff everywhere into the gaps of the cork bark. They're pretty deep, so the moss kind of stays there and holds there by itself, and then it's going to grow from there all over the place. We can use some of it, just all the tiny little cracks. Something you can do here, just use a blender or a mixer, just cut it very, very small and just literally pour it all over the bark. When the water flows, it's going to flush some of it away, some of it is going to stay there, and just look natural, because then it holds by itself where it holds. I really don't like to glue moss in place, because then you're likely to create something artificial, to glue moss somewhere where it wouldn't grow, maybe where there is not enough water, and then you have to work around to get the water to these spots where the moss is. And it actually shouldn't be, should be the other way around. So the moss should be growing where the water is and not the water flowing where the moss is. Okay. Like I said, I don't want to cover up the entire thing with moss, so here we have the final product. I've been spraying in between, and so do I right now, to keep the plants moist. So that bark is finished. We have it now here. Super cool. I really like how it looks right now already, and when the moss has grown, I'm going to trim it so it doesn't stick out in all kind of directions and grows really close to the bark. Now let's put the bark aside for a second and clean up the space here a little bit, and we'll get to the container. Here we have the container, and we have to use the pump inside. So let me add the pump first. Okay, I can secure it like this with that suction cup on the glass on the side with the small suction cups on the bottom. So this way it stays in place. Let's keep the cables outside. Let's take this sponge here, cut it in half. And use it somehow like this to protect the pump from soil getting inside. That just sticks in here. I could glue it in place, but I really don't want to use glue inside this container because it's just too nice to have glue marks in here. I think it's going to hold as it is there. I'm not too worried. And even if the pump is buried in soil, I'm using large size, grain size soil, so it shouldn't get to the back. Now let's add in the bark and see how that goes. How that sits. Okay, so we have the sponges. I have added them to the back, inserted the cork bark. Next step, I have to shorten the air tubes and basically attach them to the holes where they are supposed to go. Let's take the tubing, let's have it a little bit longer than we need, so it's not stretched, and it goes into that. Okay, this is good for this one. And the other one goes here at the bottom. So let's make it a little bit longer than we need, so it easily fits inside. Let's turn it around a little bit. Okay, they are now in place. You see them? So they don't jump out. I think I'm going to secure things in place using here the ARKA gill type super glue. And which side? Yeah, from here. Just apply a little bit of super glue around the tubing and the cork bark. And when it's dried, it's going to keep it in place. Same for the other one. So, going to spray it to speed up the drying process. So these are now in place, and we can add some soil to the foreground and then plant a little bit Hydrocotyle and Staurogyne in the front. I think that's going to look nice. And also the soil is going to act as a filter. Actually, some shrimp breeders, they use under gravel filters with soil. This is really good because the soil has very high surface area. One of the rare situations when I use the scent flattener. Really a little bit difficult to reach the bottom here. Let's take some of the Hydrocotyle. Really don't need much of it. And the good thing about the Hydrocotyle is I even don't bother about planting it into the soil. No, okay, I'm planting it. But just put it down here. It is going to grow in all possible directions by itself and fill in the foreground. Maybe even start growing up. We will see what is going to happen. And for the other corner, I want to use a little bit of Staurogyne repens in here. Okay, some on the front and some more towards the back here. This is it. Now let's give everything a good spray. And fill in some water. So, yeah, I'm pouring the water on top of the philodendron because there is some soil dust attached. That's enough. So guys, and there you have it. The pump has became quiet, so I guess all the air that has been trapped is now out again, and the water flows down smoothly from the top, from the side, keeping all the plants moist. And the final part that we have to apply to this setup, like to any immersed growing setup, is to add some biology to it. And for this I like to use springtails. Get some of them here in a little box. I get them from a shop nearby that has terrarium supply. I don't know which kind of terrarium animals eat springtails, but you can see in here there is a little bit of earth. Yeah, the guy's starting to jump out, and some fish food. Okay, so I have added a lot of these to the 45p for the dry start, so I would say like in a week or so, when I have a bigger population in here, I will add some more. And yeah, that kind of wraps it up, I think. So this is it, guys. This is the finished result, and yeah, how do you like it? I love it. This is so nice. I'm literally blown away. Look at this, the beautiful brown color of the cork bark and the lush green color of the philodendron, the Pyrrosia, the tree fern, the Bucephalandra wavy green, everywhere in between. Then we have the Bolbitis difformis growing out here. And there we have Taiwan Moss, Hydrocotyle tripartita at the bottom, Staurogyne repens here in the back. Guys, this is it. That wraps up this episode. That's been a super great experience for me. I learned a lot of things along the way. I just say metal clamp everything. Thanks for the companies that have supported me here. ONF with the light, European Aquaristics with a tank, Ben's Jungle with the epiphytic terrarium plants, Tropica plants, well, from the past, Tropica Soil here, mig-A with the base. So all these things, all products used, you will find the link down in the description below if you want to check them out and shop them to rebuild this one. I guess in a few weeks time I will see how it develops. If you want to follow me on that way, make sure to follow me on Instagram. Also, looking forward to test out the ONF Flat Nano Plus. This is the Bluetooth Wi-Fi app controllable version that I can set up a day cycle or something to it. Literally just program it when it goes on and off, and maybe have a little bit more warm light in the morning, a little bit more warm light in the evening, if that works. If not, just ramp up, ramp down, I don't know, stuff like that. Guys, this is it. Thanks for watching, thanks for staying with me. If you enjoyed, click the thumbs up button. If not, then click the thumbs down button, but please do me a favor and tell me why. And yeah, just in general, if you have any kind of feedback, drop it down below. Always reading all of your comments and try to reply to as many as possible. And yeah, there will be more nano builds next week. Stay tuned. Bye bye.